Remember this desktop, the simple days, when you needed more patience to do anything on your computer? Let's look back to 1998 and Windows 98. It's the height of the browser wars between Netscape and Microsoft. We'll take a peek at the Microsoft Redmond offices here in Cascadia, where an amazing new product was recently released. Internet Explorer 4. Now, the next exciting version, version 5, is getting ready to ship. As it gets late, most folks head home except for a few night owls. One of them is a junior PM, Ray's son. He's called over by one of the senior engineers, Bharat Shayab. This engineer opens up a local build of Internet Explorer 5 and then adds a new favorite or bookmark. Normal process so far, but look, the new favorite has a fancy little icon next to it. All you need to do is put a file named favicon.ico in the root of your website using the standard Windows icon format. The name Favicon is a portmanteau of favorites and icon. The engineer quickly prompted for approval to check in the code, and the junior PM said sure, then went back to his desk. But the next day, the PM's manager came in and told him he was taken advantage of by the senior engineer. The engineer had waited until late in the day, knowing a less experienced PM would okay this late check-in. But by then, it was too late. The code had been merged in, and the rest is history. Or at least, this is how Sun recounts the story on his blog. This little feature has grown since it was first snuck into Internet Explorer 5, and now, nearly every site has a favicon. Favicons have spread to show up on browser tabs and even in search. Hi, I'm Tiger. Yes, that's my real name. I'm on Twitter at NotWoods. I'm a student and I'm an intern at Mozilla, where I work on PWA support and other features in Firefox for Android. I grew up in Hawaii and then moved to Vancouver, Canada 5 years ago. People usually go the other way, but I like it more here in Cascadia. Together, let's dive in to both the history and future of favicons and find out how to make your website icons shine on a variety of screens. We'll go back to the past, to 1999, where web standards have caught up with favicons. Since it's not always simple to add a specific icon file to the root of your website, the link element was used to point to the icon file. The link element is used to link CSS style sheets and other resources to your HTML. The rel or relationship attribute must be set to icon to indicate that this tag refers to a favicon. The type or MIME type attribute allows other image formats to be used, such as PNG. href points to the URL of the image. And then finally, sizes is used to specify how big the image is. This way, the browser can pick the best size if multiple favicons are specified. A quirk in old versions of Internet Explorer meant that shortcut icon needed to be used for the rel attribute instead of icon. However, that's been fixed since Internet Explorer 11. You can always just use icon on your sites, no matter what. A few years later, favicons spread to tabs. They first appeared in Opera in 2003, followed by Firefox released in 2004. Other browsers like Internet Explorer 7 and Chrome followed. Now, favicons would begin to show up all over the browser UI, and not just in favorite. But around this time, another company was getting ready to launch a totally different product. Apple had just announced the very first iPhone. This stylish new product was thin, and it had a touchscreen, and most importantly, it had a library of apps that were all implemented as websites in Safari. When the iPhone first launched, it didn't support native apps at all. Instead, web apps could show up as apps by opening up the website in Safari and then selecting Add to Home Screen. However, favicons weren't used when web apps showed up on the home screen. Instead, Apple introduced a new rel type called Apple Touch Icon. These icons need to be larger and opaque, since all iOS icons are squares. Now, we're catching up to the present. Just like before, standards caught up with Add to Home Screen. Today, A web app that can be added to the device home screen is called a progressive web app, or PWA. Progressive web apps are built with web technologies, but have features like offline support to give them the reliability and overall experience of a native application. This experience is completed by showing a dedicated icon for the PWA on the device home screen. Icons displayed on the home screen are now separated from favicons. Instead of having many link tags, all icons are placed inside the web app manifest, a JSON file describing the appearance of a web app. Many icons can be specified inside a JSON array and have the same attributes as an icon link tag. Type and sizes are identical, and then source replaces href for letting you specify the URL of the image. The manifest should be linked to by all of the web app's HTML pages, letting you replace many tags with just one link tag. So, how many sizes of favicons are there today to support? It starts with just a simple 16 by 16 square, as seen in favorites and tabs on desktop on normal density screens. Windows suggests a couple additional sizes for the ICO file when pinning on desktop, 32 by 32 and 48 by 48. Then the iPhone comes onto the scene with 57 by 57 pixel icons. And then later, high-density Retina screens show up, and now we need to provide 114 by 114 pixel icons for iPhone, alongside both 72 by 72 and 128 by 128 pixel icons for Android. Then Windows 8 comes out, and Internet Explorer 11 recommends enormous 270 and 270 wide and 558 by 558 icons for start screen tiles, and just demolishes my slide layout. Of course, this isn't even every size. iPads want totally different icon sizes than iPhones, and then smart TVs want another set of icons, and then there are plenty of other devices now and potential devices in the future. There are so many different icon sizes that you're expected to support, and it's a pain to copy so many files for every website you have. But there is a solution in the future. Let's talk about features that have only landed in some browsers that you can look forward to in the future. That solution for too many icon sizes is vector icons in the SVG image format. Chrome 80 recently added support for Svg Favicons, and they've been supported on Firefox for a few years. Vector images are defined as paths and points on a plane instead of pixels. As a result, they can be scaled to any resolution without losing quality. SVG is the standard image format for vectors, and uses XML to define shapes and paths. You can use SVG images for your favicons in a similar manner to PNG images. The MIME type should be changed to image/svg plus XML, and sizes can be set to a special any keyword to indicate that the icon works at any size. SVG images can also be used with PWAs in a web app manifest, again by changing the type and sizes fields. If you're interested in learning more about SVG, you should also check out Amber's talk tomorrow on web visuals. SVG offers more power than just scaling to any size. You can also embed CSS into SVG images. CSS is normally used to control the appearance of your HTML pages. Just like in HTML, you can add a style element in your SVG file. There, you can write whatever CSS you like. You can even use IDs and class names. But CSS also allows us to use media queries. Media queries allow you to specify CSS overrides that are applied depending on the user's device. For example, you can use the prefers color scheme media query and make your icon look different in light mode and in dark mode. Icons now have the power to adapt to better fit how they're displayed. You can also use the prefers contrast media query to adapt to high contrast settings and improve accessibility. If you've written a media query before, you've probably used them to adjust your CSS based on the in-screen size. Good news, this works in SVG too. You can create an icon that has more detail when it's scaled up. However, this behavior is also very under-spec'd, and it differs from browser to browser. Generally, the width will correspond to the size that the SVG image is displayed at. However, display density also affects the width in Firefox. If you're using Svg Favicons today, it's probably best to just use the sizes field and give the browser separate SVG files if you want to show different amounts of detail. PWAs also have additional icon formats they can use to adapt to the user's device. I have been contributing to the web app manifest spec with the W3C, and let me show you some new ways for your icon to be displayed. First up are maskable icons, which allow you to find an opaque icon that may be cropped into different shapes. Maskable icons began as a way to address a change in Android. A few years ago, Android icons were freeform and could be any shape. This meant that web apps could also reuse the same transparent icon. However, manufacturers like Samsung wanted to make all icons the same shape on their devices, like iOS, where all the icons are squares. Different manufacturers wanted different shapes. As a result, Android introduced adaptive icons. You supply a background with lots of padding, and then Android will crop it into the correct shape. But since web apps are designed to work on any platform, they didn't have APIs to create these special Android-only icons. Instead, Android would squish all PWA icons into white boxes, even if they already had a shape. Happily, maskable icons allow you to fix this problem. A maskable icon should be a large, opaque image with plenty of padding. Depending on the platform, up to 10% of the outer edge may be cropped off. This allows the browser to crop your maskable icon so that it will fit right in on any device. If you create a maskable icon for PWAs, you can even reuse it as your Apple Touch icon for iOS, as both icons expect opaque squares. That's not the only new icon type. I worked with the W3C to add monochrome icons to the web app manifest spec. These icons will be used in notifications and menus where other icons are shown with no color. When we supply a monochrome icon, the browser only checks which parts of the icon are transparent and will discard any color information. You can imagine shining a flashlight onto your icon and only looking at the shadow. Browsers can then choose to show the icon with any single color. These icons are used to style control notifications when you run a PWA on Firefox for Android. If you use Google's Bubble Wrap tool or Microsoft's PWA builder, the monochrome icons are used as a default icon for all notifications from your PWA. Perhaps your PWA has app shortcuts, which provide a list of quick actions when your PWA's icon is right-clicked on desktop or long-pressed on mobile. On Windows, shortcut icons are usually displayed in full color, but on Android, shortcut icons are usually displayed just in the app's theme color on top of a neutral background. Monochrome icons can also be used for your PWA's app shortcuts. You can provide full-color icons for Windows, while Android will use monochrome icons to make your shortcuts look like native app shortcuts. Monochrome icons are supported today in Firefox for Android Nightly, and you can test out your PWA there. Google's Bubble Wrap tool and Microsoft's PWA builder let you package PWAs so that they can be installed from the Android Play Store. These tools will also use monochrome icons for notifications and app shortcuts. And down the line, monochrome icons may be used as home screen icons on platforms like Windows 10, where icons are usually a single color. Maskable and monochrome icons can be set using a new purpose field for icons in a web app manifest. By default, icons have a purpose of any, indicating they have no special requirements. Maskable icons require the purpose maskable, and monochrome icons require the purpose monochrome. I've also released a few PWA gadgets to help you create your own maskable and monochrome icons. Check out maskable.app and monochrome.fyi, which let you preview and edit PWA icons inside the browser. Maskable.app lets you upload a maskable icon and preview how it appears with different shapes. You can try out some pre-made icons, shrink the preview down, and switch between light and dark mode to try different backgrounds. If you don't have a maskable icon yet, don't worry. Maskable.app has an editor which lets you create your own maskable icons. Using the Canvas API, you can upload images and change their size and color so that they fit within the maskable icon safe zone. Afterwards, you can download the result or share it with others. Monochrome icons have their own gadget, monochrome.fyi. You can upload and preview a monochrome icon in different sizes and colors. You can also see how the icon appears inside a notification. All of these gadgets are PWAs that run offline and have their own maskable monochrome icons. I hope that they help you design great icons for your PWAs. Finally, let's talk about the future of icons inside your JavaScript code. Today, if you're using any API that involves images, like the Notifications API, the method for declaring images is completely different on every API. Image resource is a new standardized way to declare images in JavaScript APIs. Image resource is based on the icons in a web app manifest. This system of declaring an array of icons will be consistent with how you define images for JavaScript APIs in the future. The first new API to use image resource is background fetch, used to download large files in the background and show a notification with download progress. Images, such as a thumbnail for a video download or a cover for a podcast download, can be specified using the same type, source, sizes objects developers are used to from the web app manifest. The future Favicons looks bright, where your website adapts to fit in with the platform. Since web apps run everywhere, they usually don't fit in with native apps, as every platform has different icon design expectations. This usually resulted in developers just creating icons for one platform, like Android, and then sticking out everywhere else. Now, with Maskable and Monochrome Icons and SVGs, browsers can automatically adjust web apps so that they fit in perfectly alongside native apps, while preserving the works everywhere spirit of the web. So, which icons should you be using today? Thankfully, the days of having a ton of different images are soon behind us. Svg Favicons have wide enough support today that I'd recommend only using them for your favicons. If you need support every browser, throw in one or two PNGs, a 512 by 512 PNG for large launcher images, and a 48 by 48 PNG for small tab images. 48 by 48 covers high density displays while being small enough to avoid using too much bandwidth. If your website is a PWA, you should include one set of icons for each purpose, any, maskable, and monochrome. This makes sure your icon fits in alongside icons with transparent backgrounds, opaque backgrounds, and no color. Thanks for listening, and a huge thank you to everyone who helped me prepare for this talk. You can find me on Twitter at notwoods, and if you're interested in hearing more about favicons, follow my blog at tigeroaks.com. If you want to make sure your icons are future-proof, check out maskable.app and monochrome.fyi. I hope you learned something new and that you can make your website icons stand out no matter where they are.
Yay! Thank you so much for that talk. The chat has been exploding with debates on if it's Favicon or Favicon. I definitely am team Favicon, but I've pronounced things wrong before. Well, not really. I think it is Svg and Hey PJ.
Well, before this turns into another GIF debate, I pronounce it Favicon because, again, it was like it's from favorites, and I pronounce favorites as fave. So that's where I get the pronunciation from. But you know, like I don't think I can stop this debate from happening because it looked like it was pretty evenly split.
Yeah, it is definitely heated, but we'll just keep fighting over it for the next day and it'll become a big internet debate. I definitely go the GIF route though. I know that that's not exactly the most popular one, but that's what the creator said it was. I don't care if it's graphical. The creator said it. Anyway, I love these tools that you made, the monochrome.fyi and that maskable.app. Those are so cool. If you don't mind my asking, how did you build those and what did you learn by building all of those as you were going on your Favicon journey?
So initially, I built Maskable.app last year while I was working on implementation in Firefox. And then that one, because like the bulk of it is just crop and image, that actually ends up being largely just implemented with border radius. And then I did some slight tweaks if I want to do some special shapes like circles or things like that. But most of the shapes are able to just be implemented with a combination of border radius and then scaling the image up and down to compensate for that. And then monochrome.fyi is slightly more advanced because image masking is a little bit trickier, so I have to use full canvas for that. I'm still playing around with it because it's a little bit buggier still, but I'm pretty happy how it's been coming out. And the editor also uses canvas to deal with kind of building up layers just on top of each other, and then we'll just serialize that canvas into a PNG and download it when you click export.
Nice, cool. And so with the canvas, do you use any frameworks or anything, or is it all vanilla JavaScript and stuff?
It's all vanilla JavaScript. I do use Snowpack a little bit
Respect.
just to compile a couple of npm modules ahead of time, but it's largely just written vanilla JavaScript with a couple web components for file drop and dark mode support.
Nice, cool. I am very pro that when it comes to tools that are made for vanilla apps and for just PWAs and stuff in general. I think it's also good to be able to know how to make those without frameworks if you want,
Yeah.
of course. And so outside of your tools, what did you use before you had your tools? Do you have any favorite tools that you used for generating favicons or app icons, home screen icons, anything like those?
Largely, I just ended up using design software and just trying to set up the right interfaces for this, because now you can just
Sure.
largely use SVG. It's a lot easier just to generate a picture in like in Inkscape or like in Adobe Illustrator or Affinity Designer, and then export that and then just pop it into some of the tools to get the maskable and monochrome variants. Like even with maskable.app, it's kind of designed so that you could just use it to preview what you've been exporting from some software that you're using locally. You don't have to use the editor if you have some other workflow that works for you.
Right. Yeah. And all of these different tags and stuff. I remember when they first started coming out, and yeah, we had the new rel from Apple and stuff. I was just like, oh, are you kidding me? More stuff to memorize and everything. But well, once you kind of get used to it, it's a pattern that you can follow, and it's
Yeah.
not too bad to just have a heavy head that covers all of your different cases and stuff. Do you ever? I'm curious, just personally, do you ever use something outside of SVGs for your favicons, or are you kind of all in on those now and
I've
vector
been kind of
stuff?
I've been going into all in on SVG. I do still also export like a small and big PNG, but I've been like pushing pretty hard on SVG. I try to keep my icon designs in ways that can be exported into SVG, so I don't try to do anything too fancy with the icons.
Yeah, too funky. It ends up being so small anyway. It's not worth doing
Yeah.
anything too wild with those. Well, anyway, thank you so much for your talk. I really appreciate meeting you and being able to hear the history of it. It's always fun to go back in time a little bit. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah, and we are off to our next talk. And so we are about to hear from Romulo Santo. Let's go.